I wanted to jump on and have a quick chat about this RFC in PHP that Greg Corber shared on Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it. Um, Pretty damn cool, and I really hope that it gets added to the language. And if you don't know what an RFC is, it's basically a request for comment. It's essentially like a change request or a proposal for the core PHP language. It goes through a bunch of different stages, but it gets voted on by the core contributors, and essentially, if it passes the vote, then it gets added to the language. Um, the RFC that we're looking at today is pattern matching. So I'll just read out what we got and what's going on, and hear from you guys in the comments what you think about it. I think it's to be a pretty cool addition to the language. So this RFC introduces pattern matching syntax for PHP. Pattern matching as a language concept contains two parts: matching a variable against a potential complex data structure pattern, and optionally extracting values out of the variables into their own variables. In a sense, it serves a similar purpose for context data structures as a regular expression does for strings. When applied properly, it can lead to very compact and still very readable code, especially combined with the conditional structures such as match, which is obviously a relatively new additional feature in PHP. It does not have nor is intended to replace every possible type of comparison that could be imagined, just the most common in a more compact and readable form. Pattern matching is found in a number of different languages: Haskell, Python, C#, ML, Rust, Swift, among many others. This RFC is part of the algebraic data type epic, and it's a stepping stone towards full algebraic data type enums with associated values, but stands on its own as useful functionality. So this is a proposal. The proposal we got here. Hopefully you can kind of see that. Okay. This RFC introduced a new keyword and binary operator is. The is keyword indicates that it's the right-hand side is the pattern against which the left-hand side should be applied. The is operator is technically a comparison operator and always returns a Boolean, so true or false. So if the variable is pattern, the left-hand side of the is evaluated first, and until it is reduced to a single value, which could contain an arbitrary or complex data object or array, then it will be compared to the pattern, and true or false will be returned. While the pattern may resemble other language constructs, while patterns may resemble other language constructs, whatever follows the is a pattern, not some other instruction. Right, so it's always going to be, is this variable this? Basically, very simple. Is may be used in any context in which a Boolean result is permissible, so ifs or whiles or whatever loops. This includes if, conditionals, whiles, condition, and match expressions. The pattern structure. Patterns are a superset of type definitions. A pattern consists of one or more pattern segments and is combined by the or the and conjunctions. If both are used, patterns must be in disjunctive normal form and o-red list of ands. And or ed list of ands. That's a mouthful. And each segment must be enclosed within parentheses. Oh. You know what I'm talking about. If you write PHP, you know what I'm talking about. These are the same rules that can be applied to compound types already. Exactly. So supported patterns. A pattern may be given a type signature, including both class and primitive types as well as compound types. In this case, is will match the left-hand side value against a specified type. That is as follows. All of these are legal. So we can do sort of type comparison. So is a variable a string? Is it a class? So equivalent to instance of, which I hate this syntax, and especially when you have to negate it. It's like exclamation mark. So hopefully you should clean it up nicely. This is equivalent to, excuse me, is array and is null. So this really tidies up that code with that null safe operator, the exclamation mark, or is a float. There are also compound patterns consisting of 2 sub patterns each, with the or operator. So is foo an int or a float? Is it a instance of a user, or is it an int? Or is this foo string or stringable instance of stringable? Which will, if you think about how this is going to be used and how much this will clean up the implementation of specific bits of logic, like obviously we want to be keeping logic to a minimum in a sense anyway. You don't want too much sprawling logic, but obviously programs are just logic. So where code, especially in object oriented code, can grow and become messy and unreadable is within these conditions, is within these more complex conditions. So this is really going to go a long way to maintain the readability of the code without compromising anything, which is pretty damn cool if you ask me. And the last one here is foo instance of a user, or, and then the parentheses condition, which is foo instance of account and instance of authenticated, which is pretty damn cool. I like this. I really like this. Blah blah blah. Literal patterns. Any literal maybe a pattern when used on its own is not particularly useful. Is equivalent to, but can be used in compound patterns to more complex effect. So is foo 5. So this is like strict matching the literal. So is foo the same type and the same value of 5, and is foo the equivalent of, is it a string that is yay PHP? More practical compound example is foo beep or boop. So equal to strict comparison. Built-in constraints pattern. There are 3 constraint values built in that can be used directly: true, false, and null. They function essentially as the same as a literal pattern as far as the user is concerned. But for implementation reasons, they're handled slightly differently internally. As with a literal pattern, I can't read today. As with literal patterns, their use standalone is minimal, but they're useful in compound patterns and match expressions, etc. So is foo true, is foo null. It's more readable than explicit triple equals, and it's more, I guess it's not safer, but like it's going to feel safer. More practical examples is foo an array or is it null, which is equivalent to is array and is null. So you've got that that match expression against the type of foo, which is lovely, really nice. Class constraint patterns. Class constraints also may be used as a pattern. So is foo the string, or is it a string? Fully qualified namespace there. Limited expression pattern. Okay, so the use of variables directly in the pattern is not supported, as it would conflict with the variable binding below. However, they may be included by delineating with the at parentheses. This approach would work for global constants. As with literals, they're mainly useful in compounded patterns and matches. So is foo bar is a strict comparison of, are they the same, which I kind of like, I think that's, I wasn't expecting it to work this way, so I kind of like that. And the same with constants as well. More practical for class constants. I'm not huge, I don't love class constants. I wonder if they work. I'm probably about to find out how they work with objects, object property patterns, blah 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 blah. Let's just take a look at the example. So p is point, so p is equal to the object. Point is p point. Okay, maybe we should probably read that, but yeah, a pattern. We'll go. I'll eat my words on that. A pattern may also define a class. to match against the scope accessible property of that object. Only a single class type may be used, but any number of properties may be matched. The properties must be accessible within the scope. That is, the pattern is evaluated outside the class, may only match against the public properties. Pattern inside the class may match against private, blah, blah, blah. So just respecting scope, essentially. Okay. So it's equivalent of instance of point and. Okay, so you were able to declare able to match against not only the class but also the public property of X. I've not used this curly brace syntax before in this way, so that's pretty cool. I like that. I mean, look at the shorthand of that, right? And you not only get the comparison match, you also get the strict type matching there. This is very cool. Very cool. And match enhancements. So I'm assuming we can execute this as spoken about in our match expressions. So variable is of type class, is of type whatever, blah, blah, blah. That's pretty damn cool. Very cool. Variable bindings. One of the prime uses of pattern matching is to extract a value from a larger structure, such as an object or enumeration. This RFC supports a value binding by specifying the variable to populate. If the input variable matches the rest of the pattern, then a corresponding value will be extracted and assigned to the variable of that name in the current scope. It will remain in the scope as long as normal variable values should say it should. Only local variables may be bound. You cannot bind to a property of an object. Okay, interesting. The entire pattern either succeeds or fails. No variables will be bound if it doesn't succeed. Okay. So it's equivalent of 3, and then y is instance. Right. So we're setting y to the value of y if the pattern matches. Very clever stuff. Very clever stuff. Variable binding is not compatible with odd compound patterns. Blah, blah, blah. There's no reliable way to then that is set. Okay, interesting. Very cool. Variable binding is especially useful in the match statements because you can then actually you can match against the pattern and then extract the value directly into the Z variable, which then can be used within the execution of whatever the result of that match is. That's pretty clever. I mean, this isn't obvious, and it's obviously a more advanced use case, but pretty damn cool. So I back it, and it definitely, once you understand it, it's going to make things pretty straightforward. There's more match examples here using the pattern matching in the match statement, the enums. Okay, very cool. You can use it in the declaration. So this is primarily for extracting the value of is the value. Very nice. Against the values of the enum. Array structure pattern. Very cool. Very cool. Lots more advanced use cases there. I'll link to the RFC in the description. It's proposed for PHP 8.4, and let's hope it gets the votes because this is very cool. And I'm going to do some more digging into this and hope it will make it. So let me know what you think about this in the comments below, because I think this would be a pretty special addition to PHP. PHP in 2024 is going from strength to strength, and for anyone that thinks PHP is dead, it's not. So make sure you subscribe if you made it this far, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.